Buffalo Bills fans, buckle up, because training camp just delivered one of its wildest news dumps of the summer, and we've got injuries, we've got position battles, we've got a brand new fullback, and yes, we absolutely have to talk about the grass. Actual grass at an actual billion-dollar stadium. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly where things stand with this Buffalo Bills roster heading into the most important stretch of the preseason. Let's start where the real headlines are. Inside linebacker. For weeks, there's been chatter about whether Terrell Bernard's starting job was actually secure heading into this new scheme. Well, defensive coordinator Jim Leonard stepped up to the podium on Tuesday and basically ended the speculation. He praised Bernard's football intelligence, but here's the twist. Leonard suggested Bernard has almost been too smart for his own good. The coaching staff wants him to stop overthinking, stop running through a mental checklist on every single play, and just let his instincts take over. In the previous scheme, Bernard was locked into a rigid see-it-do-it system. Now, the Bills want him flying around, reading and reacting in real time. And that shift tells us something much bigger about what went wrong with this Buffalo defense in years past. Because let's be honest, remember those brutal slow starts under the old coaching staff? Remember watching the Bills defense basically hand the opposing offense a free touchdown on the opening drive almost every single week? A lot of that frustration may trace directly back to overcoaching. Too many checks. Too many if this happens, then do this instructions crammed into these players' heads before the ball was even snapped. When you're that deep in your own thoughts, you can't play fast. You can't play free. And for a defense that was never the most athletic group on paper to begin with, that mental clutter was a recipe for disaster. This new coaching staff appears to be ripping that playbook up and replacing it with something much simpler. See the play, react, go make it. Now back to the linebacker room because there's a real fight happening for the second starting job. Jim Leonard specifically called out an awesome battle between second-year linebacker Caleb Elarmzor and veteran Dorian Williams, and both guys are firmly in play. Leonard raved about Elarmzor's speed and physicality, saying the athleticism just pops on tape. But don't sleep on Dorian Williams, who is playing in a contract year and has every incentive in the world to lock this job down for good. Two completely different situations. Williams entering the final year of his rookie deal looking to cash in, and Elarmzor just entering year one looking to prove he belongs on the field early. This is exactly the kind of camp battle that can define a defense's entire identity heading into week one, and right now, nobody knows how it's going to shake out. Let's shift over to the defensive line because Jim Leonard had absolutely glowing things to say about one player in particular, Dion Walker. And when we say glowing, we mean it. Leonard compared Walker's versatility directly to Ed Oliver, praising his ability to line up at nose tackle, bump outside, and play multiple gaps within the scheme. But it wasn't just the physical tools that had Leonard fired up, it was Walker's football IQ. Leonard specifically pointed out how impressive it is that Walker can come off the field and communicate exactly what he saw or heard from the opposing offense, something Leonard admitted not every player is even capable of, let alone willing to do. For a defensive lineman, that kind of in-game processing is rare. This wasn't a coach cautiously managing expectations for a young player. This was a coach who sounds genuinely excited. And if you've caught any of Dion Walker's recent press conferences, the confidence is radiating off of him too. Buffalo may have found a difference maker up front. And then there's Landon Jackson, who instead of just playing. But Jim Leonard says that when Jackson came back to camp this year, something clicked. Leonard's exact words to TJ Sanders during practice, both players fully healthy. Now, Leonard was quick to downplay that, saying not to read too much into who got first reps. But let's be real. That's your defensive coordinator handing his unit to Jackson first, with a healthy TJ Sanders standing right there. That means something. Don't let anyone tell you it doesn't. One more name that deserves your attention. Jordan Hancock. This second-year defensive back has been logging heavy reps in the slot through the early portion of camp, and by all accounts, he's been thriving there. But now the coaching staff is shifting his focus to safety for the remaining weeks of camp, and that opens up a fascinating question. Is there a third safety job up for grabs behind starters Cole Bishop and C.J. Gardner-Johnson? Multiple names are competing for that dime role, including Damar Hamlin and a few others in that secondary room, but right now, Hancock might have the highest ceiling of anyone in that competition. If the Bills want more size on the field in certain matchups, Hancock could be exactly the kind of chess piece this defense uses in creative ways all season long. Keep his name on your radar, because this role could expand fast, and a lot of that battle is about to happen completely out of public view, since the next stretch of camp includes joint practices and a preseason game against Cleveland, meaning limited access and limited reporting for a while. Now let's move over to the offensive side of the ball. Because the Bills have apparently settled a position battle that's been quietly simmering, fullback undrafted rookie out of Wisconsin Jackson Acree has been released, and in a corresponding move, the Bills brought back linebacker Otis Reese, who had previously been cut and re-signed. But the real headline here is that Ben Van Sumeren is now the last man standing at fullback, and he's got an absolutely wild backstory. This is a 26-year-old, 6'2", 231-pound athletic freak. We're talking a 4.45 in the 40-yard dash, 29 reps on the bench press, a 41-inch vertical, and nearly an 11-foot broad jump. His athleticism score, when evaluated as a linebacker, came in at a jaw-dropping 9.62 out of 10. But it's his journey that makes this story wild. Van Sumeren started his college career at Michigan as a fullback, switched to running back, then switched again to linebacker and transferred to Michigan State. He went undrafted, landed with the Philadelphia Eagles, worked his way onto their active roster as a rookie, and eventually shifted back to fullback in 2024. He got real playing time, 22 offensive snaps and over 200 special teams snaps, before a season-ending knee injury in November of that year. He bounced back in 2025, re-signed with the Eagles, and was actually on the field for the opening kickoff of the NFL season as the defending Super Bowl champions kicked off against Dallas. And then, brutally, on that very opening play of the season, a torn patella tendon. Just like that, his whole year was over. Now he's in Buffalo fighting for a roster spot, and by most accounts he's shown real flashes, explosive, physical blocking in isolated situations. The one thing that still needs work is his timing as a lead blocker for James Cook, but that's exactly the kind of thing that gets ironed out with more practice reps. And with Jackson Acree now off the roster, Van Sumeren has a clear runway to get that timing dialed in before Week 1 against the Houston Texans. All right, injury report time, because there was a lot to unpack from Buffalo's open practice at the new stadium, where over 40,000 fans showed up for an 8:30 a.m. session, with parking lots reportedly opening as early as 5 in the morning. Bills Mafia truly remains undefeated when it comes to showing up. But several key names sat out. Ed Oliver did not practice, though it appeared to simply be a scheduled rest day. He was seen walking around the sideline with no visible issues. Khalil Shakir also sat out, and the early speculation is the same story, a planned rest day ahead of joint practices. Now here's the one that's got people nervous. Keon Coleman was seen in a walking boot. According to reporting, he was diagnosed with a sprained foot or toe injury. Head coach Joe Brady acknowledged Coleman had missed some practice time, but did not sound overly alarmed about it lingering into the season. Still, a walking boot is never something fans love to see, even if the tone from the coaching staff suggests this isn't a long-term concern. Then there's rookie receiver Skyler Bell, who continues to sit out of practice, and this one is a little more concerning. Joe Brady has said that if it were a real game and they needed Bell to play, he could. But he keeps missing valuable practice reps, and for a rookie trying to carve out a role in a crowded receiver room, those missed reps matter. The clock is ticking for Bell to show the coaching staff he's ready to contribute early in the season. Running back Ty Johnson and center Connor McGovern remain out, as does C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Jalen Kilgore, who was seen wearing a compression sleeve on his leg. On the positive side, safety Cole Bishop and cornerback Maxwell Hairston both returned to practice, which is great news for that secondary. And DJ Moore, who had that scary ankle moment during the preseason game, was back out there doing individual drills and even some 7-on-7 work, though he wasn't cleared for full team drills just yet. All signs point to DJ Moore being just fine and not in danger of missing real time. Now let's talk about the elephant in the stadium. The grass. Buffalo's brand new Highmark Stadium has been an absolute lightning rod of conversation since it opened, and look, let's be fair about this. The stadium itself is stunning. Massive facility somehow still feels intimate, incredible atmosphere. This is a building Buffalo should be proud of for the next 3 decades. But there have been 4 major complaints swirling around it, and honestly, 2 of them don't hold much water. The roof coverage complaints? The messaging was always that 65% of fans would be protected from the elements, never 100%, so getting rained on inside a stadium that never promised full coverage isn't exactly a smoking gun. And the video board complaints? Sure, it's not the biggest board in the league. But by every account from people who've actually sat in that building, the size has been more than sufficient for a great game day experience. The 2 legitimate complaints, though, are obstructed views and the field itself. On the obstructed views, yeah, that's a real issue. Some fans paid serious money for personal seat licenses and showed up to find railings and glass boxes blocking parts of their sightlines. That's a fair frustration, and it's the kind of thing that should have been communicated far more clearly before people bought in. But the freshest drama is the turf, or more accurately, the grass. This is real Kentucky bluegrass, grown in New Jersey by the same company that supplies grass for Acrisure Stadium, Lincoln Financial Field, Fenway Park, and Citi Field. It was installed back in October of 2025, so it's had roughly 10 months to establish itself. And multiple players have voiced concerns. One anonymous Bills player bluntly said the field is, in his words, not good right now, though he added it's still early. Another said the surface felt soft but not in a good way. Meanwhile, a visiting Panthers running back actually defended it, saying it was a little lumpy but overall pretty solid and that the grass felt good under his feet. Across the board, though, nearly everyone agrees on one thing, even in its current rough state. This natural grass surface is still considered better than the artificial turf it replaced. There have been visible issues, though, clumps of turf getting torn up mid-play, an official actually having to stop the game clock during the preseason matchup against Carolina to repair a divot in the field. Worn patches developing between the hashes as the game wore on. There was even a report of a Bills staffer standing guard over a hole in the turf just to keep receivers from stepping in it before kickoff. These are real, tangible concerns, and the explanation from Bills staff is that this is simply a brand new field that hasn't had time to build up the organic matter beneath the roots that gives established grass fields their firmness and stability. Essentially, it's a young field still settling in, not unlike a new house still settling on its foundation. Here's the thing, though. Reasonable expectations matter here. This is year 1 of a brand new stadium. Things are going to need adjusting, but the concern moving forward is real because the Bills are staring down a brutal stretch after opening the season on the road in Houston. They'll play 3 home games in just 18 days, hosting Detroit, New England, and the Chargers in rapid succession. That's a lot of wear and tear on a field that's already showing soft spots in its very first month of real football use. The people responsible for that turf need to figure this out, and fast, because there's a real difference between it's early. Give it time, and we've got 3 home games back to back to back, and the surface can't hold up. So where does that leave Buffalo Bills fans heading into the rest of camp? A linebacker competition that's must-watch, a defensive line getting real praise for buying into playing fast, free, and physical. a rookie fullback with one of the wildest athletic profiles and career journeys you'll find on this roster. A handful of injuries that need to be monitored, especially Keon Coleman's boot and Skyler Bell's continued absence. And a brand new stadium that is, for all its bumps and growing pains, still an absolute home run for this franchise and this city. There's a lot left to figure out before Week 1 in Houston, joint practices in Cleveland, a preseason matchup on the road, and then roster cuts looming right around the corner. This is the time of year when Buffalo's identity for the 2026 season really starts to take shape, and we are going to be here for every single second of it. So if you want to stay locked in on everything happening with the Buffalo Bills this training camp, the injuries, the position battles, the roster decisions, and yes, even the ongoing grass saga, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now because we've got fresh content coming your way every single day. Drop a comment below and let us know who you think wins that linebacker battle. Is it Dorian Williams cashing in on his contract year, or does rookie Caleb Elarmzor take the job and run with it? Give this video a like if you're fired up for Bills football, share it with a fellow Bills Mafia member, and we will see you right back here very soon. Go Bills.